Hello everyone, I'm your hostess with the mostest 8-second gaming, and in today's video we are going to be talking about the best weapon combos that you're going to be wanting to run for each role on the team. If you want to play your role properly, you gotta use the right weapons. So don't worry, I've got you covered, but just quickly, if you guys haven't yet, you have to check out the GameLeap website right now. Over there, we have top level coaches creating the best, most highly informative guides to make you the best player you can possibly be. Seriously, there are literally hundreds of guides on the site already covering everything that you need to know. We got legend guides, gun guides, VOD reviews, mentality guides, positioning guides, everything. So click the link in the description, pick yourself up a membership, and start to improve today. But okay, with that done, let's hop into things. And just to be clear, there are 3 roles on the team. You have your entry fragger, the secondary fragger, and the support. So we're going to be covering one weapon combination for each of those roles. So let's start things off with the entry fragger because they're the first ones into the fight, so they may as well be the first ones in this video. And the entry fragger is going to be the most aggressive one on the team. They are entering the fight first, so they have to have a weapon combination that allows them to be super aggressive while maintaining proper distances. And for that, I am going to be recommending the P2020 Akimbos and the Flatline. Now, starting off, the P2020 is going to be your close range weapon because the P20s last season were really good. They were just kind of flying under the radar because the Mozambique Akimbos were just so much better. But also going into this season, they did receive a nice buff where the hipfire is more accurate. And once you get hammer points on these bad boys, they do so much damage and they allow you to be super aggressive because they are pistols, so they don't get any of the movement speed reductions. The pistols have super good strafe speeds and you don't need to ADS with them. You can just spam shots out and you can be in so many different situations and get out of them because the P2020s do so much damage. Now, I will admit right now shotguns are kind of running the up close meta because Newcastle and Gibraltar are really strong. If you get into a fight between a Gibraltar and a Newcastle where they've got the bubble down or they've got their shield down, you are going to be at a slight disadvantage. But if you understand that and know how to play around it, because now that you understand, don't get into a bubble fight with a Gibraltar if he has a shotgun and you don't, you can kind of pick and choose your battles a little bit better and you won't be at a massive disadvantage in those fights. The P2020s are really good this season and they're really good for aggressive players like the entry fragger, so that's why I'm saying that here. And your second weapon is going to be the Flatline because the Flatline is such a good assault rifle for an aggressive character. It has an insanely good hipfire and it's also pretty good in medium ranges. It does have a pretty aggressive recoil compared to the other assault rifles, so you are going to have to get used to it if you haven't used the Flatline a lot. But if you can't really get used to it, it does also have the option to be flicked into single fire, so you can do that. But honestly, the Flatline isn't too hard of a recoil pattern to learn. Once you kind of understand it a little bit, you are going to be able to hit some pretty nasty shots. And its damage output is insane. It has such good damage potential that it's really hard to not recommend a Flatline for an aggressive character. Assault rifles are still in a fantastic spot. They're still probably the best weapons to go for your secondary weapon. And there's really not a whole lot else that I can say about the Flatline because it's been good for season after season now. I think a lot of people understand how good the Flatline is, and it just pairs with this combination super well. So yeah, check out the Flatline and the P2020 for the entry fragger. Now, before we move on, I do want to say one thing really quickly. I am streaming again over on Twitch TV/8second gaming. So if you guys want to see some of my gameplay live, go check that out. But now we can move into the secondary fragger, and like the name suggests, you are the second one into the fight. You are kind of the cleanup crew. So you do need a loadout that is good in those up close fights to clean up the kills, but you also need some good medium range damage if you're just poking or you're trying to initiate a fight and get your entry fragger a position to actually push. So for that, I am going to be recommending the Mastiff and the Nemesis. Now, the Mastiff is pretty straightforward. It is the go-to weapon right now because, again, Gibraltar and Newcastle are kind of running the meta right now, and if you're fighting against them, you kind of have to have a shotgun. It is kind of rare that we see legends being so strong that they do warp the weapon meta. The last time we did see this was, again, when Gibraltar was still super strong way back in the day, and you had to have a shotgun in order to bubble fight him. It's kind of a sad reality, but when Gibraltar is strong, shotguns are also strong because he allows you to control the flow and the pace of the fight with his bubble. And if you don't have a shotgun going up against a Gibraltar, you are at a disadvantage. So as the secondary fragger, when you're coming into the fight at the last second to try and clean stuff up, you need that Mastiff, or technically a Peacekeeper as well, but I do recommend the Mastiff right now, in order to bubble fight and in order to clean up the kills and get that damage out. Now, some people might be wondering, again, what about the Peacekeeper? What about the Eva? What about the Mozambiques? And the Eva and the Mozambiques aren't really the same effectiveness in a bubble fight because they're meant to just be spammed out and overwhelm someone with the amount of shots that you do have. But in a bubble fight, or also with a Newcastle, when they are peeking their mobile shield, you don't really have that opportunity. It's more of a peek out behind cover, shoot once, peek back behind cover, and continue to do that and down your opponent with massive damage in one bullet. So the Eva and the Mozambique do lose out there. And also for the Peacekeeper, it's just not in the best spot right now compared to the Mastiff. It can hit really hard, but you do need to choke it up somewhat, so you are at a disadvantage in the fight because the Mastiff doesn't need to choke itself up, and it's a little bit better in those situations. So because of that, I am going to be recommending the Mastiff for the secondary fragger. And pairing alongside it, I am saying the Nemesis because the Nemesis is still stupidly strong. They haven't really changed the Nemesis in the past couple seasons, so it's just kind of been flying under the radar in terms of Respawn's eyes. But I think a lot of people understand that the Nemesis is still really strong. When you have it fully revved up, you are ripping through someone's shields and health incredibly quickly. And if you're able to hit some headshots, you are going to be downing someone or even taking them out of the fight for a little bit because they are going to have to heal. And as a secondary fragger, this can award your team a lot of opportunity because sometimes in fights you are looking for a crack or a knock in order to push off and give your entry fragger a chance to actually do something. And the Nemesis is great at giving those opportunities because it can burst out damage in such a short amount of time. Sometimes people don't have the time to react to it and your team is just already steamrolling them by the time they try to do something about it. Energy weapons have always kind of been strong in the meta, minus the triple take. That one flip-flops in and out constantly, but the Nemesis is no exception to that, and the Nemesis is still going to be a really strong option for the people that do like assault rifles and being aggressive with them, because again, like the Flatland, it still does have a pretty decent hipfire as well. So as a secondary fragger, once you get into those close range situations, if you run out of bullets on your Mastiff, you could swap to the Nemesis, hipfire it, and still be perfectly fine. But that is the secondary fragger done, so let's move on to the last role, and that is going to be the supports. Now, supports are typically the back line of a team. They're the ones that are sitting back, holding down a position so that if they need to, your teammates can come back, have a safe spot to heal, reset, and base the fight off of that. But that's not always the case because sometimes supports do have to get their hands dirty and push with their team. So you need a loadout that is good in those close range situations, but you also need to be able to be dealing damage at medium and far ranges in order to support your team no matter the distance. So for this season, for you support mains, I am going to be recommending a Mastiff and a Spitfire. Now the Mastiff I am recommending for the same reasons as the secondary fragger. Shotguns are just so strong right now, and as a support, you are probably running Gibraltar or Newcastle this season because they are super strong. And if you're the one that's playing Newcastle or Gibraltar, you have to have a Mastiff in order to do those bubble fights or mobile shield fights. I am kind of beating a dead horse here by repeating myself a little bit, but I just want to nail it down for people. As a support player, you need to have that bong stick in order to fight in the bubble or the mobile shield. It has to happen. I see way too many people not running a shotgun on Gibraltar and Newcastle, and that has to change. You're not playing those characters to their maximum effectiveness if you're not running the right weapons for them. So please, please, please pick up a Mastiff if you are playing a support. And as for the other weapon, we are going to be running the Spitfire here because the Spitfire this season did get a buff and it is a nasty, nasty weapon. It has so much damage potential even without a magazine on it. You have so many bullets that have so much damage on them, you can do some crazy numbers. And the Spitfire is also really easy to control, so it doesn't matter if you're in a medium or far range, you can still easily control the recoil and hit some people to support your team. Also with the LMGs, they do get more accurate as you are hip firing them, so if you happen to be in close range, you can just let the choppa sing, get the extra accuracy off of it, and help your team no matter what situation they're in. The only real downside to LMGs is the strafe speed penalty that you do get when you are ADSing, but as a support player, you are typically going to be in the back line anyway, so you're not going to be getting focused as often, so the strafe speed isn't going to be affecting you as much as say a secondary or an entry fragger. If you're on one of those characters and you are running an LMG, you are going to have the issue of the strafe speed, but for a support character, it's not the biggest issue in the world. So you get all the benefits of the Spitfire without really having any of the drawbacks of it, so it's really the only class that I would recommend playing the Spitfire on. But let me know your favorite loadout in the comments down below, and if you guys want to stay up to date with the latest and greatest Apex Legends tips, tricks, and news, don't forget to smash the like and subscribe button. Thank you all for watching. Once again, I'm 8 Second Gaming. I'll see you guys in the next one.